Teddi Mellencamp. Welcome to the show.
For 16 years, I've tried to be this person, and I'm not that person. Our biggest struggle was right when they had told me, you booked Housewives.
It's the most shadiest of shades, and they don't give a
When I'm confronted with hurtful things, I just pretend I don't care.
But you do care.
But I do, but I'm broken. It was all of the things that you hope it's not going to be. You know, like it was just, I hated myself.
At the time that you did it, I feel like it was very, I don't want to say taboo, but people weren't talking about it.
There were moments where I was like, I'm maybe going to die.
So in like past relationships, as you grew up, if you were met with confrontation, how would you typically deal with it?
I mean, I don't want to say too much. I needed those moments, but I didn't ask for them.
Teddi Mellencamp, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
Do you know what a housewife connoisseur I am?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I might have to come on your show. I might be better at dissecting everything than the housewives you have on.
Well, I'm no longer on Beverly Hills.
No. I know. So, but I mean, come on your
podcast.
Not on Beverly Hills.
I was like,
I might need to come on your housewives like podcast.
Oh, on the two T's.
Yes.
You have to come. That would be perfect. If like Tam's out sick or Erica is not available, you've got to come on because I need your hot takes. And what's your favorite franchise?
My favorite franchise is, I have 3. Beverly Hills.
Okay.
Because I mean, I feel like everyone loves the glitz, the glamour, the dynamics. I love Salt Lake because I love Meredith Marks.
Oh.
We partied with Meredith Marks in, where were we?
We've been to a few places.
A few places. And she's very fun.
She is very fun. Did you watch the season finale of Salt Lake yet?
Don't ruin it for me.
I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it's very hard when you see people in real life and you hang out with them in real life and then you watch them on the show and you see this completely different side of somebody and you're like, hold on, now I have to recap what I just saw even though I know that I liked you in person?
I know, but here's my thing. It's like a soap opera. Like, I feel like you guys have to lay it on a little bit, so I'm okay with the juxtaposition.
I don't mind at all if somebody's more dramatic or they're stirring it or whatever it may be. I don't like when people get up and leave.
Oh, don't tell me. I haven't seen it.
Well, she does every episode, so it's pretty easy to know.
Maybe she should make like merch about leaving.
I got a weird thing where I will peripheral these things, but then when I meet the person in real life, then I get super vested. And now I'm like yelling at people on the screen if they're mean to people I've met. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, oh, I'm connected. So
you're invested in it.
Yeah, I'm invested.
My other franchise, my third one is Potomac.
Potomac.
Because I feel like there is so much shade.
Oh.
It's the most shadiest of shades, and they don't give a fuck.
Well, they don't care because they all are like, I'm getting that paycheck no matter what. And like, we're going for it. But I mean, they can kind of, and on Potomac, you know, they'll take it so far that you're like, you know, at some point people are going to watch this back and some of those people are going to be your kids.
It's going to be pretty wild. I'm not going to lie. If you want to see the shadiest show on television, it's Potomac.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to go back to when you were a little girl. What was it like growing up with your parents?
I would say, I mean, people always want it to be this like fairy tales of a story. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint. My parents met, my dad hadn't like had his first hit yet, but he was already like in the music industry starting out. He'd come out, met my mom at the Rainbow Room. She was 18 years old. And they had like a relationship. He was married back in Indiana. And then she got pregnant with me. And we moved to Indiana. And that's kind of how my life came to be. And then his first hit, Jack and Diane, was the year that I was born, 1981. And then they were divorced I had a little sister. I still do. Her name's Justice. And they were divorced by the time I was in the 3rd grade.
So was your childhood fairly normal, even though your dad was so famous?
I don't remember probably 90% of my childhood.
Why is that?
Like, I'm one of those people that if you show me a picture, I pretend in my head that I remember it, but I don't fully remember it. My parents, you know, once they got a divorce, my mom got our vacation house and then decided to move us there full time. So my dad lived in Indiana, and my sister and myself and my mom moved to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
So how did your dad manage everything he was doing on tour and being like this rock star and having kids? Like, what is that like?
Well, I think, I had an older sister already, but I mean, it was, I don't want to say too much because it's my dad and my mom, but like, it was a brutal divorce. It was all of the things that you hope it's not going to be. And, so the visitations, all of it, it was strained for quite some time.
What were you like as a little girl?
I was kind of always that overachiever looking for attention, kind of having to figure it all out on my own. And then also very sensitive. I'm a Cancer. So like things hit me really hard, but I'm going to pretend that they don't.
Overachiever. You know what? Michael and I are first children too. We understand.
Yeah.
What is in the soup with the first kids? They all want to overachieve. It's like how they get attention. It's across the board.
Yeah, I think it's also because not only are you the first, but you have this need. And I think especially for me, I don't know if your guys' parents are together, but like for me, when I was with my mom or when I was with my dad, I wanted to make them happy and I wanted to make them feel proud. So I kind of did everything inside of myself to try to do that. And then when I realized I probably couldn't, then that's when I got really into riding horses and did that, like traveled around pretty much from the time I was in the 6th grade till I aged out till I was 18, just traveling around with my horse trainers and doing that.
You're very good at horse riding, huh?
Oh, thank you.
His mom is too. His mom played polo.
Oh, cool.
I think she was one of the only women to win, or maybe the first woman to win the Spreckles Cup.
Oh.
She used to play with men too. He used to scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's
because polo, if you know, like it's my sister
it's
did.
intense.
Yeah, she did. My sister did. What is it? I don't even competitive riding where you do the jumps and all.
100 jumper.
That's
what I do,
right?
Yeah.
So that to me was a bit safer. But my mom was out there like with a mallet and that ball and like going with men. It was crazy. It used to scare me as a kid.
Well, equestrian is one of the only sports where men compete against women.
Huh.
Yeah, like it's, even now that I'm an amateur, I got my amateur status back. It's, 36 and over, they show against each other.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just really want to wear those pants. What's the brand of the pants that I should get to look like you guys?
They're called Dada.
Okay.
DADA. But you'll probably want to get a black pair.
Okay.
Because then it's like super cute. You can't really tell that they're riding pants.
Okay. Especially right now. I need a black pair. You know what I mean?
No, stop. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I definitely need a black pair. You have been so open about your struggle with your weight. And that's actually one of the reasons that I connected with you, which we can talk about later. But when you were a little girl, did you struggle with that, or was that not till later on after your pregnancies?
So when I was a little girl, I struggled with it in the way that I didn't nourish my body properly or really enough. And then I moved to Los Angeles when I was 17, and I had stopped riding horses, and I, started working the mailroom at CAA, and I wanted to be an actress, and I was a hostess at Eurochow and Mr. Chow, and I was just trying to make things work, living in a studio apartment with a girl I met in acting school. And I would probably say within the first 7 months of living here, I probably had gained like 70 pounds. Like it was a lot.
Which you're tiny in person. It's like on the show, you guys all look so like
tall.
Yeah, you just look like, I don't know, you're just a tiny framed person.
I'm very short. So it's like, I was kind of eating my feelings, I guess. I had come from, whether it was the horse world or growing up in Hilton Head, South Carolina, like I was a big fish in a small pond. And then I came out here and that was like a dime a dozen. It's hard. There was nothing that really set anything apart. And then, you add wanting to be an actor into it. And I had gained probably like 40 pounds. And then I was still like touch and go, going on auditions. And then I booked something. And then between the time of when I booked it to when the pilot started, I had gained more weight. And when I went in for my like meeting and fitting and all the things, they were like, Teddi needs to lose weight or she can't have this job.
What'd you do?
I never auditioned for another acting job again.
Whoa.
We got to get you back into acting.
No, I'm not even good at it. It was just another way to try to like fill the void that I have inside of me.
When you're trying to act like that in Los Angeles and your dad is who he is, are you saying, I'm not even going to pretend that's my dad? Or are you like, I guess not texting at the time, calling him and being like, hey, can you help me?
I never asked him for any entertainment, like that type of help. Yes, he got me my interview at CAA to work in the mailroom. And then I worked my way up, met agents, managers, those types of things. But no, I mean, in Hilton Head, where I grew up, yes, like he would come to a volleyball game and, you know, a couple of the moms would be like, ooh, ooh. But like, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't until I started working for an agent, and I forget where he wanted dinner reservations, but he's like, can you get dinner reservations, blah, blah. And I'm like, I tried, I can't get it. You know, at this time I had like a real Southern drawl. I'm like, I tried, I can't get it. And he's like, one, like we need you to lose your accent. And two, drop your name. It'll get us in. And I'm like, what do you mean drop your name? And he's like, say Mellencamp. And that was like, I had never done that before. I didn't even know that was a thing. And then it was, you know, yes, there are times I used it to my advantage to get into Joseph's on a Monday night, but like I didn't use it for work.
If I had that last name when I was young, I would have been a fucking terror. I would have been calling the top restaurants and being like, Mellencamp, Lauren Mellencamp.
My dad's sister's name's Laura, so that
I would have been a nightmare at 16.
Listen, you
with that
gotta use
last
what
name.
you can use.
Yeah, I would have been on the bar. Like I would.
I mean, my first couple years in LA, they were a little, you know, it was dicey. It was like, okay, to get in this club, to do that, but it never was. I like, did I walk in and meet with like a casting director, and I was like, then afterwards call my dad. He'd be like, go fuck yourself. Deal with it. You know, like get your own job. You know, like I don't know.
After you gained 70 pounds, did you go on a journey to lose it? What did you do? Because I want to get to what you do now, and I want to know the process of how you got there.
It was kind of multiple times throughout my life. You know, the gaining of the weight and the losing the weight and kind of putting my identity into it, which I now think is kind of the first time that I've, you know, in these last 8 years, I've been like, my life isn't actually about how much I weigh, you know, since I started all in. But at that point in time, you know, I had gone after the acting bust. I went back to riding horses. It naturally came off again because I went back to my same unhealthy patterns. And then, you know, I met my husband. Well, I guess my soon-to-be ex-husband. And that's when I quit riding and tried to get pregnant, and I couldn't get pregnant. Had like a couple miscarriages, went through IVF, had my daughter Slate, and then had my son Cruz. And then, you know, it was the first time in my life I wasn't like making my own money. And people often think like, oh, she must have this fat trust fund or all this. No, like when I came to LA, I came out with my Jetta. You know, I lived in my studio apartment. Like there wasn't that. And that's fine. I'm so grateful that he didn't do that because it's taught me to be a fighter. But it was the first time, you know, I'm with a man who is, you know, the breadwinner. He's in charge and I have kids and I feel like I almost kind of lost myself. And I kind of became like a misery loves company person. Like, let's all bring, you know, at these mommy and me's, let's all get together and complain about our lives. And, you know, it got to the point where I didn't even want to be in a photograph with my kids because I felt so uncomfortable in my own skin. But yet I wasn't really doing anything about it. I wasn't moving my body. I wasn't eating even things that like would nourish my body. You know, like it was just, I hated myself.
What do you mean by misery loves company? Like, and how does that even manifest itself?
Like you surround yourself with other people. Like you can either surround yourself with other people that are going to lift you up and you're going to feel good and you're going to motivate each. Yeah, you know.
Like,
and granted, some of these friends that I had, you know, when I first had my kids are still my best friends now. But at that point in our lives, we weren't there. We weren't like, okay, we feel like crap, or we feel low, or we have postpartum, or whatever it may be. Let's go on a hike. We'd be like, all right, let's sit here and eat crap and cry and talk and vent and let our kids play around together. Like, it really was kind of that place. And then finally, my marriage was not great. I had no kind of financial freedom of my own because I didn't make any money. And even if he didn't say it, I wasn't one of those people that felt comfortable. Just like we didn't have, like, I felt like, oh, can I go get my nails done? Like it became one of those things. And so I started an Instagram. It was a bad name, LA Workout Junkie. And I said, I'm going to change my life today. Follow along if you're interested. And I did that for 365 days. Never had a client. Wasn't thinking it was going to be a business. I just needed Instagram to hold me accountable to change my life.
Go back to when you met your husband. Where was this?
So I met my husband the day after Christmas at a nightclub, Coco DeVille.
Coco DeVille.
Yeah.
Cute name.
That was, long time ago, pre-you.
Oh, I've never heard of Coco DeVille.
Is that here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was.
It was next to the Belmont.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember it?
No, I don't know. Coco. That's a cute name, though. I feel like someone needs to name their daughter that.
Yeah. So it was the day after Christmas. Like, who goes out the day after Christmas? I guess if you were me. But I was actually at the Belmont eating dinner with a couple of my friends. And I had just gotten divorced. And my divorce was just final. And they're like, just come out. We went to dinner. I think I was in Uggs and like a sweater dress. Like, I was not in any place to be going to a nightclub. But after a couple drinks, they're like, let's go out. Let's. And I was like, oh, we're not going to get in. And they're like, we're twins. We always get in. Like, they're blonde twins. Like, blonde.
They always get in.
They always get in. So I was like, okay. As I was walking out, as I was walking in, he was walking out. And then he turned around and yeah.
And then you also mentioned IVF. What was that like? At the time that you did it, I feel like it was very, I don't want to say taboo, but people weren't talking about it.
Yeah. I think it's the same way as how people weren't talking about like postpartum anxiety or postpartum depression or any of those things. Someone in my family made a joke to me. They were like, we were always so proud of you didn't get pregnant at 18 like both your sisters, but then we realized it's just because you couldn't. That's so it was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I think it also, it's like my childhood. There are certain things that like I would hate to tell you exactly how it was because anything that's super painful for me after timing, like I really can't remember.
Well, that's why I asked you why you couldn't remember, because a lot of that, and this doing what you do, is like it's a trauma response.
Yeah.
Right. Like the brain blocks out things that are too painful to remember to protect you.
Yeah.
I sometimes do this too. It's like I don't know. There's a word when you like disconnect from something.
Disassociate. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like a little bit.
Yeah. So like for me, whether it was when I first got married and we were having, or before I even got married, when I knew that things weren't 100% right, but I kept pushing through and like, we're going to figure this out. Or when I was having issues, after having the kids, or even when I couldn't get pregnant, or my childhood and some of the trauma that went back that far, I get very, like almost like stoic, like ice, or the other alternative is uber emotional. And so I'm really scared to show that emotional side, which is why I've really worked hard to try to be more vulnerable so that I can actually grow instead of just staying exactly where I am.
So in like past relationships, as you grew up, if you were met with confrontation, how would you typically deal with that? Was it be like kind of block it out and disregard it and not address whatever was going on? Or would you? I'm
fine. Like with like girlfriends, like friends, that no, like I'm happy to have a conversation or duke it out or whatever. But if I'm like in love with you and, I know that there's not supposed to be unconditional love unless it's your children. But like I always like craved that. And then it's not something, healthy, or even, my therapist says that that's not even something that you want or should require, because then there's codependency and all of those other things. But I think, when I'm confronted with hurtful things, I just pretend I don't care. And then I become very cold.
But you do care.
But I do, but I'm broken.
And she mentioned you said you're sensitive as a child, so it's like a mix of both at once, which is confusing to you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I also think what's interesting when people come on the show and they've talked about like getting a divorce is that divorce, what I've learned, does not just happen overnight. It is like, I mean, you're talking about, how old is your oldest daughter?
Well, when I met my husband, his daughter was 3 weeks old.
Wow.
And
I didn't know that. She was 3 weeks old. So you got 16. Like a baby also, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I have an amazing relationship with her mom now. Like, I love her. Like, they weren't married or anything. Like, they were already broken up when I met. But like, yeah, when I met him, so it was so much. And I never even knew I wanted kids. And then I met Isabella and I fell in love with her. And that's when I put my whole life into Edwin and Bella and becoming, wanting to become that perfect wife that like I never got to see.
You said when your daughter was, around the time your daughter was born, there was problems, though. It's been like, that's years and years and years and years. Like, it's not like, this is the thing that I want to just mention about divorce from what I'm hearing is like, it doesn't just like, you don't get in a fight and get divorced. It's like years and years and years from what I've heard from people.
Well, what I've kind of learned throughout, like, yes, I would say that, me and Edwin have had some of the most amazing years and the most amazing times. And when we met, I mean, it was like hot and it was all the things. And then there would be, there'd be somebody else and then I'd be like, it's okay, I can work through it. I'm going to make him love me more, whatever it was. And then, then you have kids and things happen. And then I would say probably at the point in time when Edwin was ready to start working on it and really change, I probably stopped.
That's interesting.
Meaning like you guys were struggling before and then you were trying to fix it and then he wasn't. And by the time he wanted to fix it, you were kind of checked out.
But I never told him I was checked out. I think that's the problem.
But did I summarize that?
Yeah, but that's right. So he started, really getting, he became really good friends with a bunch of motivational speakers. He started really trying to change his life, and he did. And I think I had like, I don't know, almost like resentment or animosity or fear of ever like being open again. So then I just kind of closed off and probably went into autopilot for quite some times. But then there would be some really amazing times and I'd be like, all right, this is actually how it's supposed to be. And I mean, still to this day, like I have to, last night I was like, crying and I'm like, maybe I just figured it out. Like maybe I figured out just because like I don't want our kids to grow up in a home where their parents aren't together and like all of it. But it's scary because you don't know. But yeah, I would say, then I booked a TV show.
Yeah, tell me through what you were going through at what point and what were you going through when you decided to book Housewives?
So I would say the hardest time before we got married was a little bit tough, but then we got married, things were good. And I always loved him and I still love him. And, he's an amazing dad. And, but I would say the worst time in our marriage was right after the kids up until when I booked the show. And, I had all the IVF issues. And then our biggest struggle was right when they had told me that you booked Housewives.
Oh.
And I don't know. I had like so much fear. And I think that's why if you watch me on Beverly Hills and then if you also listen to Two T's in a Pod, they're like, you sound like two different people. And I was like, yeah, I was a shell of myself, like trying to portray this perfect life that was really far from perfect.
I also think as a viewer of the show, that is not an easy franchise. It's almost like going to
Are any of them easy?
No, this one in particular, it's like what's the thing in baseball, the highest one?
Oh,
the A team. What's it like? What's the highest?
Please don't do a sports analogy, Lauren.
I don't know either, but
like the biggest, it's the all-star league.
The major league.
And also, not to mention, like, everyone is looking a certain way. It's very thin. It's the best glam that you can possibly get, and I can say that because my favorite glam is in Los Angeles. Right. It's like the house is like, who cares what your house looks like? Because next door there's someone bigger, and next door there's someone bigger, and next door it's just so extravagant. I can imagine with everything you're going through to go on that show, there's pressure.
And it wasn't even that for me, like my first season. It was more so, I would say now that I've watched I didn't watch Housewives before, but now that I watched them all and I recap them all for a living, I would say Beverly Hills, the strongest, is probably the least one where women ask questions and expect vulnerable answers back.
What do you mean?
Like when you're watching, I don't know, Salt Lake, for example.
Okay.
Mary is sharing really heartbreaking things about her son with one of the other women. With Angie. And Angie is then sharing a story back, but also listening. And there's like this vulnerability between the conversation. I think that in Beverly Hills in particular, there is such a need for wanting everything to be, we all had businesses. We all had that, like, nobody wants to be the one that's under attack. And also nobody's listening or really asking the questions.
Well, also no one wants to show the cracks.
Yeah, no one but if nobody's asking you the question, like people always wanted to ask me about my weight stuff. And they would ask me, and then producers would be like, you don't get upset about it. I'm like, because I'm not upset about it. It's a part of my life that I'm happy to share. I think that there's a lot of girls that have gone through the same things that I have. I don't mind sharing that. And so it's like, I think producers were always looking for what it was with me. But if the women probably would have asked a couple of questions, they would have figured it out. I would have been open.
Well, about your marriage,
my life,
IVF,
just the real things.
Yeah, the real thing.
Yeah, I mean this with respect, and we know a lot of the people that are on that franchise personally. But what's interesting watching it and then knowing, and then also just like being human, is you're right. Like there's obviously real human issues with many of the cast members that have been articulated and shown since that, maybe sometimes wanted and unwanted. But you're right, like if you watch that show, a lot of it was kind of either not shown or swept under the rug or like kind of hidden. And then all of a sudden shit breaks loose and all hell starts to happen.
I have a theory. I think it's because there's this undertone with Beverly Hills of if you call someone out, you better bet your ass they're going to call you out.
But I think there's a difference between calling somebody out and having authentic conversations.
Yeah.
And I think that now, like if you listen to my podcast with Erica, who Erica and I didn't even get along when we were on the show the first year together, but now we have a podcast together. It's called Diamonds in the Rough. We can open up and connect and talk about things that never in all of the time we spent together we ever had, because neither of us could really listen. Because if you have your guard up so much, you're thinking about the next thing you're going to say versus what should I ask this person, or what, or how am I going to make good TV, or what, like it has to be more like, what is this person feeling right now?
It sounds like there's a little bit of self-producing going on.
You can't help yourself but self-produce.
Yeah. I'm not judging it. I can't imagine. I mean, that's
and the women that don't, I mean, they're excellent housewives, and but I think in Beverly Hills, it normally the drama is narrowed down between like two women, and they're just going to go at it, and then it's going to be a pile on because you're not getting deep into the crux of what's going on.
How do you convince your husband to go on that franchise and to do this? I always joke on this show, like, what we do this and you can have all these conversations and like we get to control them, and I don't have a third party, cutting it up and telling me what to do or not do.
Too bad, because shit, if we had a third party, they'd be on my side, bitch.
Yeah, and I could tell her to be quiet when I'm talking. I'm just kidding. But I wonder, like, I always say, I'm like, I've never seen it work out for any of these guys that go on these shows.
Harry Hamlin.
Here's the thing. I think the show actually made our marriage better.
Yeah.
And Edwin would say this himself. The show held him accountable because all of a sudden people knew who he was. Yeah,
but that's kind of a crazy statement too. It's like I got to go on TV to be accountable in my marriage.
Yeah, and so there were parts of it that really helped. And there was also parts like now all of a sudden my business has grown. I'm on a television show and I can do what I want. You know, like I can be like, oh, I want to go on this trip or I want to go here. And I can pay for it. And like there's a difference in the changes on that show. And I can also say I saw things in myself the way I was in my marriage that I was like, ugh, like I was like, gosh, I really nag a lot. And, you know, like,
Lauren, we should go on the show, actually.
Fuck no.
I was like, gosh, I really nag a lot.
Accountability on that, Teddi.
Yeah. But it's also interesting because they'll show certain things. Like I remember we had one conversation that they never showed. And I'm like, if they would have shown this, if they would have aired this, it would have eaten Edwin alive. But like Edwin was able to come out of the show after 3 years and he came out completely unscathed, which he should. He didn't do anything wrong. Except for this one dinner where he, you know, he's talked about it. So that's why I feel comfortable sharing it. But they had us have that conversation like, should we have another baby? And, you know, at that moment, I'm trying to self-produce him through my head, like kicking him under the table. And he's like, oh, gosh, but then are you going to get all big and depressed again? Oh, yikes. And I was like, ugh. I was like, if they air this, they're going to eat you, you know, and then so you're sitting the rest of the dinner like,
is that how it is? Are you like actually like when something's said that you're so uncomfortable with and you can't control the other person, like you're just sitting there like, fuck.
My shins would be destroyed if I was on that show.
Like if they would have had car cams on us that night we left that dinner, it would have been all freaking.
Were you just like, why would you say that on television?
Yeah, but also why would you say that at all? But it was like I wanted to protect him, and then
I think a lot of guys. I'm going to be really honest right now. I think a lot of guys think that.
Yes,
what he said.
Of course.
You guys, I'm not going to be like sitting here that like, you can't even keep a straight face. I think a lot of guys think what Edwin said. It is hard to watch your wife gain a bunch of weight and be complaining every day that her feet hurt and she's tired and get the fuck out of her face because she needs a minute.
Yeah.
Like
other day, Lauren tried to get out of the car in the middle of an intersection because she was upset about God knows what.
I was proving a point.
And I was just sitting there.
But I think a lot of guys feel that way, actually. And
if we weren't being filmed at that moment, I would have just given it to him back. I would have been like, go F yourself. Yeah. You know, like, but I was like, no, I need to protect us right now. And so I'm going to just pretend that comment meant nothing to me. So I was like, and then it doesn't become a thing, and then you move on from it.
But if you take the TV shows out of it, I say this even with social, there's a lot of couples that go and they like start to kind of produce what a perfect relationship looks like. Those people are always the ones that I'm the most worried about. Yeah. It's like relationships in general, both marriages, you know, friendships, they're always imperfect. There's always, like, that's the whole, like Lauren and I's marriage is a constant work in progress, right? Like there's constantly going back and forth. Okay, we could do that better. Shouldn't do this, communicate. Like, if anyone that's in a relationship says that it's all bells and whistles all the time and like perfect birds and whatever, honey, it's just not, it's not truthful. And so, you know, I think the scrutiny that happens on those shows is probably very difficult for a marriage because a marriage is constantly working on the marriage, right?
And a man who's not, maybe their wife's getting paid, but they're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say really the show, I mean, I was on it for only 3 years. I would say our marriage was fine during the show. You know, like we got through it. That was fine. And then it was kind of after all of the things that happened after I was fired or whatever it was. You know, my business was being attacked. One of my daughters had her finger accidentally, she chopped off her finger. Like the door slammed on. This is in the middle of COVID.
Yikes.
She had her, like, I was following me behind, like I was going to take the trash out. It's like 10 a.m. I'm like, Slate, I'll be right in. And she's like, Mom, and put her hand in. And then my baby, Dove, had to have neurosurgery. Ugh. We're in COVID.
Terrible.
I lost my job, being attacked online. Like all of these things happen.
Why'd you get attacked online?
So there was a woman online who started coming after. So right after I was still hired. Like I thought I was still coming back to the show. I had done my interview to like, what's going on for this year? You know, like thinking things were happening. And then there was a a woman who started attacking me online, saying I created eating disorders, that you can't even imagine. I mean, she went after me, I think, for 365 days, maybe more. Around that same time, she was tweeting, and Camille Grammer retweeted something that this woman said, who, once again, never met this woman, don't know who she is, like, have no correlation to, like, none of her friends were my clients. I have no idea who this person is. Camille retweets something she says, and then Kyle, being a good friend to me, comments to Camille, like, you're just jealous because you don't have a business and something like that. But now this girl who probably had, I don't know, 1,000 followers, all of a sudden within days had 45,000 followers. And then the more that she started coming for me, the more her followers grew. And then right around that same time, it was announced on Daily Mail that I'm no longer a housewife.
Do you think that the show didn't want that on, like, that energy? Like, what I mean,
we're in 2020, so it's the beginning of cancel culture and anything like that. I mean, and I didn't even want to be. I was like, all my paid posts, all of the things, like, I had to turn off commenting. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a crisis management team that, by the way, waste of money. Anyone that tells you that you should hire a crisis management team, no. All they tell you, and I'm going to give you, this is a hot tip. Don't say anything. Be quiet.
You should have called me.
We never had a crisis management team.
If you would have called me, I would have said, what would I have said? Don't say anything.
Be quiet. Yeah.
That's all. I literally would have said. All people like this that are attacking people online want is attention.
Yeah.
And with the crisis management team and all these different things they're saying back, their statements, there's all this shit. Just don't say anything.
Yeah, we never said anything, but I hired a team just to tell me to be quiet.
There's a weird...
I got it. So the team did tell you to be quiet.
Yeah, and I never... I mean, now I'm talking about it, but I mean, my publicist is in here right now. Like,
it's cancel culture.
Did I never talk about it? Never once.
There's a weird thing, like, it's funny, like, not even doing this show, but like running a media company, like Dear Media. I always find this so funny because obviously, like, doing this show and then producing a lot of other shows, we're no strangers to this kind of stuff. But it's never affected the business because I've never given it any care. Like, people whine about what's said on shows or what we say, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, just don't listen then. Go away. Advertisers, don't want to pay for it? Go somewhere else.
By the way, I do want to say this.
I never understood this.
And I'll say this on air. I tried your program. I saw the show. I tried the program. This is before I had Zaza. So this is
2018.
2018. I tried it. And it's great. It's amazing. Like, it holds you accountable. I think I feel like I lost, like, I don't remember exactly, but like 8 pounds. I felt great.
You lost 9 pounds.
She knows. Okay, I lost 9 pounds. I felt great, and it was like a great reset. And what it did for me is it trained my taste buds. Like, it retrained them to eat a little bit healthier. But the problem was, literally the day that I finished, I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
So,
but when you say don't say anything, and I just listen, and I don't mean to throw shade at anybody that's in crisis management or PR or publicist or other, but everybody feels that everything on the internet justifies a response from the person that's on the other side of that. And I've never understood this. The internet is the place, there's 7 billion people on the planet. There's hundreds of millions of people paying attention to these platforms all the time. It's impossible to respond to everybody and to please everybody all the time. My advice to anyone that's dealing with any of this is, who cares? There's a million other advertisers. If they don't want to work with you, who cares? There's a million other platforms. Who cares? You can self-produce. You can do things for free without the consequence of having to be behind any kind of person that basically gives you that approval. And I'm saying this as someone that not only does a show, but produces 100 shows. And I've never paid any attention to any of that stuff.
I mean, I didn't really have a choice. I mean, it was actually, my business was attacked. Like, it was in the New York Times. Like, my business was really being...
It's probably good for business though, right?
For a little while, it was good for business. But then it became like I don't know, it changed my feeling about how I was working within my business, because it was like every day it was another hit. And I was like, oh.
So you almost had to be careful, like, with the way that you were interacting with clients, because you were second guessing yourself.
Not even that. It was more just like, gosh, this is like... this is something that I love. And I created this business because it changed my life.
Yeah.
And now it's changed over 30,000 other people's lives. And now this, and now I have someone I don't even know who's turned something that has been one of the biggest struggles in my life into something that I was trying to hurt other people with. And that's what really hurt me. And I know we talked that you lost 9 pounds or whatever, but what I remember what it did for you is a lot of, because you were so busy, you had a really hard time scheduling out certain times for yourself.
It was a nightmare.
And I remember the conversations of like, okay, well, we're going to pick a time. We're going to pick that 30 minutes. Like, when are you going to go on the walk? Or when are you going to do the Pilates? Or when is it going to, all of those things. And you'd be like, well, I don't know if I could pick a time. I'm like, no, if you don't pick a time, it's not going to happen.
Yep. No, it's also like, it's a check-in with yourself. It's like, it's a good tool in your toolkit.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I like to try everything. I'm someone that's really open-minded with all different kinds of things. And I thought it was great. I lost weight. I felt good. And it did reset my taste buds. So I had a good experience.
Yeah. And I mean, it's still to this day, it's something that I follow. And I still tag my workouts and hold myself accountable because I've had weight issues my entire life. But for me, it's the mental health aspect. When I'm not moving my body, when I'm not like getting my endorphins up, when I'm not doing those type of things, I am sad. Like I struggle with, like I am diagnosed OCD and I have anxiety. Like moving my body helps me.
How are you, like, what do you do that's OCD? How did you know you had that?
I mean, you have to take like a multitude of tests.
But did you do something that's like a ritual?
I'm not like, I do like weird counting stuff, but for me, it's a lot about scheduling, a lot about like everything having to be perfectly organized, but not like my house isn't immaculate. That's why I was like, why can't it be things that, whatever, but I'd redo the calendar 1,000 times. But just, it's that constant, like my mind is constantly wondering and overthinking every single thing, and it doesn't stop.
Even when you try to go to sleep?
No, definitely when I try to go to sleep.
So it gets worse when you're trying to go to sleep.
And so, I mean, now that I've learned about meditation, I've learned about, box breathing, different things. I do a cold plunge. I do the sauna. Like, I'm medicated. Like, let's be clear. Like,
you have a toolkit.
I have a toolkit to get through it. And then I've learned that on the days that I'm not getting through it, it's okay for me to go, you know what? I'm going to go to work today. And then afterwards, I'm just going to, I'm just going to lay. I'm going to cry. I'm going to do this. Or I'm going to let myself feel that I put myself through the ringer, these past couple weeks.
When you look back on the show experience and you've evolved now, what would you tell yourself, and what are things that surprised you about the show when you look back on it?
I would say I wish I would have just trusted my instincts and been more of who I actually am versus what I thought people would want me to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, people get mad at me all the time on the podcast about stuff I say or things I do or my opinions, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I noticed that with you now. I feel like you're just like, you know what? I'm going to let it rip. If you like me or you don't like me, like, fuck off.
But anybody that says they would go on a platform like that and just be themselves, like that, I don't think they're being honest. I mean, that's a big platform to go on with national syndication, a lot of attention, and fans that can be really supportive, but also really brutal. And like you're on a world stage.
But I think also like, if I was on a different show now, I'm not saying I want to be back on Beverly Hills, but if I was on another show now and I were to do it, I would go in and show the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Get her on.
No, but I think that because I wanted to give this idea of perfection, of this, what I made myself was so rigid and uncomfortable. And also, I was significantly younger than the majority of the women.
Yeah.
I came at, like,
you also, I think I'm going to note this, to be pregnant on film is stressful.
And by the time I left, I had formed those really great relationships with some of the girls. Like I had some best friends, and still to this day, they're some of my best friends. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it takes you a little bit of time to open up. And around the time I probably would have is around the time I was gone. But that's why I'm so happy I was able to do the podcast.
I think too, if it helps for me, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, to have context of your whole childhood and how you moved here and gained 70 pounds and all of these things that you've experienced in your marriage. It helps to have context of the behind the scenes, because it then makes sense that you would go on the show and try to be a perfectionist. Like all the things that you've just told me on this show, of course you went on the show the first time and tried to be a perfectionist. Look at your background. That's why I love long form content like this, because it makes people understand how they got to that place.
And then also, if you're somebody who, like, I'm assuming you probably are as well, like if you go to do a job, you want to go and do it well.
Yeah.
So if somebody were to say like, gosh, it'd be helpful if so-and-so would bring that, I'd be like, okay, great, doing it. You know, like I'm going to do my job and this is what I'm here to do. And instead of like letting things authentically come out as I felt them.
Don't you think too, though, like I feel like you're at such a strong point with your podcast. Your podcast is everywhere. Both your podcasts are everywhere. And it's almost like all of this happened to sort of get you to this point where you're hosting these two really successful shows.
I think, you know, it definitely came at a time when the podcast was first offered to me. I mean, it was a pretty low time. You know, Dove had just had neurosurgery. We're in COVID, like everything's, and I got the call and I was like, no. I am not. I just got fired from Housewives. I'm not going to recap that show. Like, I'm going to look so desperado, you know, and I was in my own head. And then I like slept on it. I probably called Sue. And I was like, okay, actually, you know what? I will do it, but I want to pick who my co-host is. And they were like, okay. And they gave me all these ideas. And I was like, no, the only person I want is Tamara Judge.
Did you know Tamara before?
I mean, we hung out at Andy's baby shower and stuff, but not well.
You were at Andy's baby shower?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to put that down. I'm going to have to ask you about that. Keep going.
Oh, yeah. You don't know the John Mayer story from the baby shower?
You're going to tell me.
No. So I said Tamara had also just gotten fired. Or she got demoted, but then she quit because she didn't want to be a friend. And they were like, we're never going to get Tamara. And I was like, give me 15 minutes. And I like sent her a DM and I'm like, hey, can I talk to you? And she called me right away. And I said, listen, I'm sure you're as like messed up in the head as I am right now, because any sort of rejection feels so bizarre. I'm like, but I think we could do something great with this and we could make real money and we could show off our worst sides and our best sides and we could use it to our advantage. We don't always agree. I've watched you. I don't always agree what you say. We're completely different people, but like I think this could be great. And
it was a hit.
And quickly, that's how we became the twats.
Yeah, I think it's funny because a lot of housewives launch podcasts.
Yeah, since.
But yours was sticky, like it hit.
Yeah. I think it's because we really, like we go on and we're like, one, you're only as good as last week's episode. And two, like, sorry if I know you, but like, I'm going to recap exactly what I watched this week.
Who's gotten pissed at you guys?
Oh my gosh, everyone. There isn't, I mean, this last week, but the best is like Tam will like blindside me because we're friends with different housewives from different franchises. So there's like, I'm super close with Chanel Ayan. She's close with Uba. They're cousins. So like, I'm sitting there texting with Chanel Ayan. Everything's great, blah, blah, blah. We recap New York. I didn't like something Uba did, said it on the pod. No, but also it's a television show. I don't really care. But Uba then messaged Tamara. And so then we get on the pod. Instead of Tam giving me any kinds of heads up, I'm like, welcome to another episode of Two Teas in a Pod. And she's like, Uba's mad at you. And then reads the messages from Uba, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there's like, you know, then you get mad. And I'm like, well, tell Uba then to act better. You know, like, don't say that stuff.
Who's the most fabulous housewife that you've met in person besides Tamara? Because I know you love her because you guys are hosts.
Well, I mean, there's difference between fabulous and like who I'm closest with. Like my closest housewife friends are, you know, Kyle, Tamara, Erica, Brenna. And then, you know, I got close with Emily when I was doing the pod with her. But like the people I see outside of, you know, this world are those original four. But no, like fabulous. Like when you see them, Caroline Stansberry's pretty fabulous.
She's fucking fabulous.
Like,
I love her. I have to agree. Caroline, if you're listening, she's fabulous.
Yeah, she's fabulous. The kindest housewife, Dolores Catania.
Oh,
like she checks in. Like she is the first person to check in. She does it without judgment. She gives good feedback, but also is a good listener. Like
she used to work in a jail.
Yeah. I mean, she knows how to manage all of our crazy.
Yeah, she does know how to manage. Let me tell you about my meat sticks. I do not mess around when it comes to my meat sticks. I am very, very, very purposeful with my meat sticks. I like a meat stick that has 10 or more grams of high quality, thoughtfully sourced protein. I also like one that has 0 grams of sugar in each stick. I like a delicious snack that keeps you fueled and satisfied. And that is why I eat Chomps. 100 calories or less per stick. I just put them in my purse before I podcast. They're convenient. They're on the go. I can eat them between shows. I also eat them in the car. They're made with real ingredients. I love meat. I eat it all the time. We know this. And a meat stick is something that I take really seriously because I am eating them on the plane, on the go. They really save me time, but I want to make sure the ingredients are amazing. I want high quality ingredients. And Chomps are grass-fed. They're finished with beef and venison. They have antibiotic-free turkey, very important. And you can really taste the difference. Like, I'm telling you, if you pick up just a regular meat stick at like the drugstore or market, you can taste the difference with Chomps. They're just a good source of protein. If you want some high quality protein, check them out. Throw them in your handbag. Get 15% off your order of Chomps meat sticks at chomps.com with code SKINNY. Again, that's code SKINNY for 15% off your order at chomps.com. Every single day, I have creatine. I have been doing this since I started lifting weights. It's something that I feel like so many people are hesitant about, especially women. I think it's gotten a really bad rep, but I'm excited because people are starting to really understand what creatine does. It supports lean, sculpted muscles, it enhances workout performance, and it helps you recover faster. Most importantly, what I like it for is it's for optimized body composition. And I could not be more excited when one of my favorite brands, Array, launched Array Tone. First of all, this is the move. You do 2 to 4 tone gummies daily, and creatine is in it. And what I like about it is it's already portioned out. So there's 5 grams. That's exactly what I take, is 5 grams of creatine. This helps me with my recovery and sculpted muscles. I notice, like, this is so weird, but like my muscle is like tighter to the skin since I've been taking creatine. And I can say this because I've been taking it for a long time, and it's a supplement that every single doctor and expert recommends. They all say 2 grams to 5 grams. Most people lean towards 5, which is why I like Array Tone. It's already pre-portioned out for you. And they're very serious about ingredients. It's non-GMO, gluten-free, filler-free, nut-free, cruelty-free, non-habit-forming, vegan, all the things. You can go to array.com and use code SKINNY at checkout. You receive a 15% off, and you get 4 free bloat travel packs with your first purchase or auto ship order. That's array.com, code SKINNY. Are you someone who wants to inject newness into your wardrobe? Are you busy? A lot of us are. I have a hot tip for you. Daily Look. This is the #1 highest rated premium personal styling service for women. So with Daily Look, you get your own dedicated personal stylist to curate a box of clothes based on your body shape, your preferences, and your lifestyle. And what's cool about this platform is it's not an algorithm. There's a real person who styles you. When they make you a box, everything is seriously picked exactly for you. So how it works is simple. You fill out their style quiz, and then you include your price and lifestyle preferences. And then you get 12 hand-selected items delivered to your home. And you can buy what you love and send back the rest. I have to tell you, I've worked with stylists many times throughout my career, and this is exactly what a professional celebrity stylist would do. The fact that they've created this is really genius. Daily Look offers free shipping both ways. It's really, really that easy. I like Daily Look because I think their mission is simple. It's to elevate your style. And their box has really great brands: Kate Spade, AG, Good American, Girlfriend Collective, Spiritual Gangster, and more. It's time to get your own personal stylist with Daily Look. Head to dailylook.com to take your style quiz and use code SKINNY. you get 50% off your first order. Once again, that's dailylook.com for 50% off. And make sure you use our promo code SKINNY so they know we sent you. One last time, dailylook.com, promo code SKINNY. Let's go back to the John Mayer, Andy Cohen baby shower. What was that like?
Okay, so the baby shower was really fun.
Okay.
Because it's essentially was like the Housewife Olympics.
Uh-huh.
Like we are all getting there. The paparazzi's, watching us come in with our gifts.
Does everyone get an invite? Every housewife?
No, that's not. No, Michael,
Okay.
come on.
And some people chose not to go because they couldn't be around certain housewives, whatever it was. But I would say there was probably 30 of us. Like you can pull up a photo. I think it's about maybe 40. And we all had our assigned seats, and we sat down, and then we all moved around by who we were kind of vibing with, or lack of a better word. But I mean, it was wild, dancing on tables. It was, housewives are fighting that aren't even on the same franchise.
How did they not film that?
I mean, it was a really big missed opportunity because my Insta stories, and even the next day, and then I'll get back to John Mayer, even the next day, I was because afterwards we went to Craig's, because this was a brunch. So afterwards we went to Craig's, and then the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was on a group text with probably Tamara or Kyle or whomever it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, we got home at 2 a.m. last night. I'm exhausted. She's like, Teddi, we got home at 8:15.
Oh, because you guys were just started so early and you were drinking.
Wow.
God damn it. I wish they filmed it. Can you post the clips or DM me some that we can share with this episode,
My
please?
favorite was Ramona Singer looking at me and being like, Gina, I think blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not Gina. And she's like, Gina from OC.
You guys look nothing alike either. Totally.
Well, don't worry. Then she came on our podcast before that whole thing happened with her, and she still didn't know my name. I was like,
it's Ramona. It's Ramona.
I was like, you know what? You can just kind of learn it. But then I was like, forget it. Just talk to Tamara. I'll sit here. But no, the John Mayer story was, he was sitting next to me, and he said, so are you actually a housewife? And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, are you married? And I said, yes, I'm actually one of the ones still married. This was years ago. And I thought that was a totally normal thing to say. 90% of the other women in the room were not married. So I said, yeah, I'm actually one of the ones still married. Then he went on Andy's podcast the next day and was like, I think Teddi Mellencamp's hitting on me. She said, I'm actually still married. And then I was like, John Mayer.
I have heard from a couple girls that he has a nice big personality.
I've heard from a couple girls he likes to do it with a couple girls at one time.
Oh, John.
Yeah.
You should have said your bodies are one girl.
Your bodies are. No, but I'm not really mad at John Mayer. I think he's probably doing a concert with my dad soon. So love you, John Mayer.
The fact that he called Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper from a bar that has cats. Did you see this?
Lauren, I got to be honest. I'm not up to speed on the cat bar.
There's cats all over the bar.
The cat cafe.
There's a cat cafe in London, and he called them from the cat cafe.
Doesn't that sound kind of unsanitary?
There's a cat on his head, and a cat is probably stuck under his penis.
Oh.
To me, that would kill any lady boner that I had. But anyway,
a lot of cats.
A lot of cats.
I like John Mayer though.
I think he was joking, but it got all this press, and I was like, not what I need right now.
Kind of fun to like John Mayer and Teddi Mellencamp. You never know.
That'll be a headline.
We have to discuss your journey with skin cancer. And I wrote a book called Get the Fuck Out of the Sun.
And I love it.
I'm so happy. People are confused. They say I hate sun. It's not that. It's that I'm strategic about when I use the sun to my advantage. So right. I have on my phone, and I love talking about this with you. On my settings, it says the UV. So I've programmed it so I can see. And if it's over a certain thing, I just don't indulge in the sun. So I go out in the morning when it's 0 or 1.
Right. What
was your relationship like with the sun before you got this? And then when you did get this, what was that like?
So, my relationship with sun, I'm probably significantly older than you, but I grew up in the 80s. We would put baby oil on ourselves and iodine, and grew up on the beach, and I would just bake myself,
Zaza would have to go to her room.
Yeah. I had a tanning bed in my bedroom at one point.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, only because like we had moved into a smaller house and there was nowhere else for the tanning bed to go. And so like my friends would come over and we would just tan ourselves. We didn't know any better. I mean, we also had Pop-Tarts every day for breakfast.
Yeah, like, you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Pop-Tarts are okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Maybe not anymore.
I mean,
back
brown
in the 80s,
sugar
though.
and cinnamon
that's
is
the
pretty
best
delicious.
one. Yeah.
But that was always kind of my relationship with the sun. Like the more sun, the better. I look better, tanner, like whatever it was. And then still as an adult, I would always put sunscreen on my kids. Like that's how you're taught, protect your kid's skin. But I didn't really protect mine. I'd put sunscreen on my face, but I never like thought about my arm or my hands or my back. I'd run in a sports bra only because like I have like textural issues because of like some of my OCD stuff. And then I had this ginormous patch on the back of my shoulder that I always kind of had that used to be just a big white circle. And then it turned into no longer a big white circle.
How big are we talking? I'm sorry, just for context.
Probably like this. I was born with it.
Okay.
We thought it was a birthmark.
Okay.
Like a hyperpigmentation. And then as I got older, it started to get freckled. And then I started getting these like, I don't know, they almost looked like sunspots. And sometimes they would raise and sometimes they would be small. And, around the first time someone brought it up to me was like 2019. I was on the show and somebody's like, those things on your shoulder look a little brutal. I went to a dermatologist and they were like, oh, we think it's dermatitis. Put this cream on it. And they went down. And I was like, oh, great. Like, okay. So whenever they would flare up, I'd just put this stuff on and move on. And then I can't even remember what year it was. I guess it was 3 years ago. I was on a run with Kyle and our friend Jen. And they were like, Teddi, the things on your back, you're going to the doctor. And like part of my anxiety is granted, I had a neck lift, but like I still don't like going to the doctor.
Oh, I got to ask you about that. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
So,
just because the stress of like, you don't like, it's like.
I don't like making appointments. I don't like filling out paperwork. I don't like all of these things.
It feels inefficient.
Yeah. Like if I'm going and I think that I'm going for a purpose, like the neck lift, I was like, great.
It's beauty too. It's different.
It's selfish, but self-indulging. But I just never, I didn't take it seriously. Plus I didn't know that skin cancer was a big deal. Like I was like, at one, it's not skin cancer. It's like moles. Like get over it.
I've had it forever.
Yeah. Like I've had it since I was a kid. So I went and immediately she's like, one, you're going to need to go to an oncologist, but like, I'm going to cut this one out and
that's terrifying.
We're going to start this process. And then pretty much throughout the next 3 years, I think I've had over 20 surgeries. And
wow.
I mean, have you seen my back?
I've seen you post an Instagram story, but can you show me so
Taylor,
I can
pull
just
it on the
see?
Screen.
I've seen you post like an Instagram of. I didn't know that you've had 20 surgeries, Teddi.
And my last surgery, I had over 800 stitches.
Oh my gosh!
It was.
Wait, are you done with the surgeries, or you don't know?
We don't know. This last time that I booked an appointment, because I have to get checked every 3 months now, was the first time I haven't had melanoma.
That's
so
amazing.
It was
that's
huge.
good. That's good news.
It was really big news. Okay, so like here's.
Holy shit!
It's hard to see your phone
because I have a.
Yeah, you have something on your phone.
Private protector.
Yeah, I could see it. I saw it.
Have you seen The Substance?
No.
The show The Substance?
No.
That's what Demi Moore has on her back.
That
looks like
that's different.
That
that's
is
different.
huge.
Yeah.
You guys need to go to her Instagram to see this. This is crazy.
Holy shit! That's like really.
Teddi, this is like.
So what did they have to do there? They went and they started cutting along that line?
Yeah, so it had started out where, they just take one at a time, or sometimes it was two at a time. But the kind of like the mind game or the mind F with cancer or skin cancer is, there's different stages for each one. This one's that, and then there's so many more testing you need to do. You need to do your genetic testing, then you need to do this. And then you have everybody else's opinions. And then, I'm definitely, I would say this is also another part in my life where this is where I started to shut down. Like where my husband was working on our marriage, I started to shut down. And because I wasn't able to tell him what I needed, like there were moments where I was like, I'm maybe going to die. Like I don't know what I'm going to do. And then, men are such fixers. It's like, well, that one's only stage 2. We're good with that, right? We're good. And I'm like, well, I mean, I was just turned down for life insurance, but instead of me being vulnerable and being like, I need you to just lay with me right now.
Yeah.
I need you. I know that you're wanting to fix all of this and make it seem like it's okay, but I need softness. I don't want you to fix it. I want you to hold me, and I want you to tell me that I'm going to be okay. And I want you to have these conversations like, if I do die, like, this is the type of woman I'm going to marry. Like I needed those moments, but I didn't ask for them. And 2 days after that surgery, I was in the post-treatment facility where they help you heal. I was back doing the podcast.
So again, it's like another block move.
Yeah. Like,
how long ago was this?
Not this past Christmas, the Christmas before. I think that surgery was on the 27th of December.
Men, no offense, they do not know. I actually think it's like it must be like from caveman days, how to show up tenderly when you need a tenderness. And I've noticed in my own experience, because, and I think you can relate to this, you and I do have a dominant, masculine energy. That when and again, I'm just speaking for you, can tell me if I'm wrong, when you step into your feminine, it's confusing sometimes to the man.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed in my own experience.
Do you want me to answer for all men on the planet?
Go ahead.
We'd
love it.
Okay, perfect.
We'll dissect it.
Probably get annoyed at it.
I think you nailed it on the head. I think most men's instinct when things are going wrong, in order to feel in control and to feel helpful, is you try to go for the fix. And like, that's just...
Sometimes we don't want to fix though. We literally just want you to lay there and like what you said, like give you a hug.
Controversial statement these days, but this is why men and women are different, right? It's like our instinct is to go to that fix, and it takes a lot of like learning and training and patience to kind of step out of that sometimes.
Sometimes you get frustrated too that you have to tell them.
Yeah, and I think he was like, well, I thought I was being of service because I was, and now we're learning all of these things, because we're in co-parenting therapy and doing all those things, and we're just learning so much about like, wow, like how I wasn't. He may have been, because I said I didn't think you were happy, and he's like, what do you mean? I love you more now than I've ever loved you. And I was like, what? Like I haven't been feeling that.
Because they don't verbalize it.
And then there was just, I think I really felt in those moments, like, when you get turned down for life insurance, or when, like, I remember those first couple appointments that he didn't come to with me, or the first couple surgeries, and like, but I didn't ask. I would just text my best friend and be like, will you come with me? Because I wanted so badly for him just to know. So I don't blame him for it. I wish I would have had the strength to say what I needed. So if you're a woman listening to this and like you think that your person doesn't love you or doesn't care about you because they're trying to fix something, it's just because they're scared too, and they don't want to make you more scared. But you have to actually, it's okay to say, like, this isn't enough for me. Like, this isn't actually what I need. Like, you're actually making me more nervous when you talk about what stage it is. And then, all of those things, I really wish I would have been throughout my entire life more transparent about what I actually really need versus what I, put on the front that I need.
Sometimes they don't listen to, which is a different.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you do tell them.
That must be only applicable to men. Yeah. You're right.
Well, it's just like, men, you guys do have your shortcuts.
Yeah. But then also sometimes I'm not a fighter. Like, I'm one of those people, if you say something to me that hurts me to my core, I will remember it for the rest of my life. Like, I know I block out a lot of stuff, but like if you say something, I am kind of like, I think ahead. Like, I've never said something to anybody that I love that I was like, wow, they're going to be able to remember that statement forever. And I think that's also another thing that I didn't make clear. Like when we get upset, I shut down and then you say certain things and then I carry those things for the next 3 years and you moved on 20 minutes later.
Right.
Because it's different personality types.
Uh-huh.
That's like my sister and me.
I think it's pretty self-aware, though, that you're sort of analyzing that.
Yeah.
That's like my sister and me, right?
Your sister and you are different. That's for sure.
But but
I love your sister. Your
again,
sister
though, and I'll
different.
just say this. Like, I think there is would women really want men to automatically switch and be this? Like, there is an argument about like the ultra feminization of a lot of men these days. I'm just putting that out there. Like, I understand like we all want this perfect world where everyone has all the pieces, but I think you nailed it on the head, which is like the communication.
Yeah.
What I found in our marriage is I want to understand everything that's going on all the time, but sometimes unless she tells me, like it's not wired in my brain to think that way in some cases.
I do also think when you are married to a dominant go-getter woman, it's hard to then switch sometimes.
And also, I mean, he's always been somebody that, I mean, he runs a very successful business.
Yeah.
He's an entrepreneur. He's got his hands in a million, like he works his tail off. And I never had a problem with that. It was always like, but then there was a moment where I was like, now is the time I need you to slow down. But I didn't say it.
So if you were counseling yourself looking back on your marriage, you would say you need to say what it is.
I think it's very self-aware to say.
Yeah, I think I need to say what it is. I think I needed to verbalize the things that really hurt me in the moment. I needed to actually really talk through them. And I think some of the things that I would have thought made our relationship better actually made it worse.
What do you mean?
We went through some sort of like marriage exploration where we did learn a couple of things about each other, which I thought was incredible. Like I always said, I'm an introvert because Edwin's one of those people that like, you know, whether it's we're going to church or we're going to lunch or we're doing whatever, he will talk to anybody for 85 hours if he could.
Wow.
Like he is in it and it could like, he loves it and he's asking all the questions, he's doing it. I've got probably 14 minutes in me. Like if I don't love you or if I'm not close with you, I can do it for 5 minutes, but I am not like a type of person. So I would have to be like, I'd like tap him. I'd be like, stay as long as you want. Yeah. You know, like I can't do that. It's not how I'm wired.
Different.
Like if you're going to pay me, I'm there and I will do it for 25 hours. But like if I am just on my own, I lose steam. So, but he had always thought like, gosh, Teddi, it's not that nice that like, you know, we finish something and then you just need to go. And I'm like, well, I'm happy to say hi and be kind to everyone, but I'm not like a small talker.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. And he's like, you're not an introvert. You're on a podcast. You talk constantly for a living. But we took these tests and in the entire room, there was a whole bunch of people. I was the lowest. There was one other, and she's like a big time woman entrepreneur that had a lower score than me, but we were the two lowest introverts or the two highest introverts in the entire seminar.
So that probably felt good so you could solidify that.
So that was helpful, but kind of what wasn't was like, I think oftentimes when you're in a group setting getting counseling, I think it can be hard.
Yeah.
And I think you can show different sides of yourself. And I felt in that moment very shut down, not from my husband, but just I felt like I couldn't really share. And so was like another, like just another like.
Well, especially if you're introverted.
Where he went into that wanting you to open, you shut down.
Yeah, I mean, we both went into it wanting to be open. But like kind of after day one, I was like, well, this is not going to be the place for me. You know, like I was like, this is.
So how long was it?
I mean, we were there a couple days.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a week.
I couldn't do that. There's no way.
You don't know what you could do. Maybe you never know.
I mean, my favorite part was like the times we would like play tennis or go play pickle, you know, like the activities.
I could go play tennis.
But like
I'm not a big group setting guy like that either.
Yeah, it's not.
Especially if you're introverted.
Yeah.
Quick break to talk about one of my favorite supplement companies on the market, and that is Momentous. We have had the founder of Momentous on this podcast talking all about their high quality supplements. I personally take so many of their products, and I'm going to share those with you in a second. What we love so much about Momentous is when it comes to supplements geared towards high performers, no one does it like Momentous. They invest in NSF certification, meaning every batch is tested for heavy metals, harmful additives, and label claim accuracy. And it is the reason they are trusted by 32 NFL teams, collegiate sports, dietitians, and many others all over the country. Personally, I think they have the best omega-3 on the market. So if you're looking for cognitive function and foundational health, this is a go-to. They also have these sleep packs with L-theanine, apigenin, and magnesium L-threonate that you can take every night before bed. They come in these little travel packs. I put them in my toiletry bag when I have them on the go. I take them before bed each night. I have never slept better. My 8 Sleep shows that I'm getting 100% sleep scores. They also have so many great proteins and collagens. What I also love about them is they have single ingredient formulations. So their vitamin D3 is a vitamin D. Their zinc is a zinc. You don't have to have a bunch of other shit thrown into that mix and wondering what you're getting. You just know exactly the dosage that you're getting when it comes to supplementation. If you want to get great sleep, try their sleep packs, mix it with the omegas, and then try their creatine. Of course, we have an incredible offer for our listeners. Go to livemomentous.com/skinny and try it today for 20% off with code skinny and start living on purpose. Again, that's livemomentous.com/skinny for 20% off. Quick break to talk about open phone. Running a small business means you're wearing a ton of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone. It's the most annoying thing ever. And before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. As your team grows, it becomes even more impossible to manage your personal number. That's where open phone comes in. If you're an entrepreneur, aspiring business owner, someone who wants to separate your career from your personal life, open phone is for you. You know, every missed call is a missed opportunity, but potential customers won't wait. They're just going to call on the next business on their list. With open phone, you'll never let another customer's call go unanswered. So if your business is a growing team handling calls, whether it's a sales or support team, you know how tricky it can be to stay on top of things. Like who responded to that customer? Did anyone follow up with that other person? With open phone, you'll never have to wonder. They built a system that lets you track when calls are answered, who responded, and how they handled it all in one place, letting you focus on growing your business and separating your personal life. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system to help you separate your personal life from your growing business. For just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees, you get a complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. And OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer. It integrates with HubSpot and hundreds of other systems. Don't just take it from me. They have over 50,000 trusted reviews. And right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/skinny. That's openphone.com/skinny for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/skinny. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Ski season is here. It's one of my favorite times of the year. Getting out, getting on the mountains, getting that fresh air, getting that exercise. I've been a skier my entire life and I absolutely love skiing. This is why I could not be more excited to share ShipSkis.com, a service that I have used for years prior to this partnership. Here's the problem. Anytime you're trying to go skiing or snowboarding or get on the mountain, you have so much equipment that you need to lug along with you. You have to check these giant bags into the airline. They cost all these baggage fees. You have to carry them around. You have to lug them into the car. It's a total pain in the ass. Anyone who's ever skied or snowboarded knows this, and it's just a total mess. As soon as I found ShipSkis.com years ago, I realized this was a problem that I was no longer going to have to deal with. With ShipSkis.com, all I do is go on their website, pick a pickup location, which is my house or my office, wherever I have my equipment, and then I have them come pick up the bag. They deliver it to the location that I'm going to. It's there in the hotel waiting for me in my room or in the ski lodge right when I get there. It could not be easier, and I don't even have to think about transporting it through the airline, through the baggage facility. I don't have to worry about them losing anything. It's just there and ready right when I get there for a nominal fee. ShipSki offers white glove shipping for ski and snowboard gear, and ShipSkis delivers to over 180 countries for a hassle-free, gear-free journey. And don't just take it from me, ShipSkis is trusted by thousands of skiers and travelers, rated 4.8 out of 5 on Trustpilot, and featured in Forbes, Travel & Leisure, Free Skier, and Inked. and now on the Skinny Confidential, him and her show. And right now, Shipskis is offering our listeners 20% off your first shipment when you go to shipskis.com and use the code SKINNY. Again, go to shipskis.com and use the code SKINNY to get 20% off your first shipment and save yourself the hassle this ski season. That's shipskis.com. Make sure you use the code SKINNY so they know that we sent you.
When you guys make the decision to separate, what is the gossip like? How do you handle all this shit online? Do you block it? Do you delete Instagram app? Are you responding? What's your tactic?
The biggest thing for me through all of this is, yes, I want to protect my children. Like, at the end of the day, I could say a million things about Edwin and he could say a million things about him, but I believe that I have been quite respectful of him on this podcast, and I would hope that he would be the same of me.
And so what do you do with all of the people commenting and all this shit? Do you look at it? Do you block it out? What do you do?
It really depends. I mean, if it's on a post with my kids,
oh, come on.
Then I try to remove it. But I mean, there's a good portion that at this point my kids are aware of, you know? And it's hard as a parent because when you're sharing, you know, things that you've done or ways that you've contributed to the demise of a marriage, you don't want to then throw your significant other under the bus. Like, you don't like, so then the press started doing that and I had never done it. So I'm like, you don't need to yes, he shared that, like, when I first started Housewives was a hard time for, like, anything that I've shared today is stuff he shared. But like the press started picking up stuff from a source close to Teddi, and and then it made us so mad at each other because I would say a source close to Edwin or this, and like, I was like, are you leaking this? Like, there were moments where I was like, are you leaking this to the press? Are you telling people this? Like, why? Like, I'm not going to go back in time and reveal our entire history. Like, I'm going to try to keep it as copacetic as possible. And like, I still, regardless if we never get back together and our marriage is over, you're the father of my children and I will love you forever. And I want to be the kind of parents that we go to a birthday party together. We throw a birthday party together, that we are a team, and like that I'll be friends with his next wife. You know, like, whatever. I want that. I don't want the kind of divorce that my parents had. Like, I think the media really made that difficult for a little bit. They've kind of laid off me a little bit at this point, but like, it was brutal.
Well, if I can just give you a compliment throughout this whole interview, I think that you've done nothing but what you just said. Like, to me, after listening to this, I think it totally is possible for you guys to throw a birthday, and that you just own the narrative and sort of took the air out of the press through this whole interview so far. Like, I feel like the best way to combat it is to do what you've just done and talk about it and own it and take it back into your own hands. The media, Michael and I just had a big guest on, and the media, the shit that they pulled from this show, it was like, it was not real. It was like literally like.
Well, listen, it's a hard business when you need to make headlines, right? And like, I think the reason I like this medium so much outside of it being our business is you really get to know people without sound bites.
Yeah.
And you get to tell stories and give context and background. And, you know, whether you think you disagree with someone or not, like what I've learned doing this show for so long is you learn about why people think the way they do or are the way they are. And even like when I just hear about your childhood and the way that you grew up, like a lot of it now maps out and makes sense. And it's a exploration of the human condition. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's perfect.
And I think, you know, when you're not feeling 100% like yourself and you're feeling all of a sudden this like, it's a dopamine rush to like feel special. Mm-hmm. And I think that in those times, you know, if you're open and authentic and you talk to your person, then, you know, things may or may not happen. But if you're not, you're probably going to make some decisions that are ultimately going to affect your life.
I think it sounds like maybe you never know what's going to happen for you. I mean, maybe you guys get back together, maybe you don't. Maybe you throw a birthday party together and maybe you're meeting each other's new significant others, but it doesn't sound like a concrete black or white situation.
I think what I've always kind of said is I need time.
Yeah.
Like, I need time. I also, like, I said, like, I want to date. Like, I want to meet people. Like, I want to know. Because I don't know. Because for 16 years, I've tried to be this person, and I'm not that person. I mean, I am sometimes. Like, yeah, I'm a great mom. I have a lot of fun with my kids. I'm an activity person, but I'm not someone that cooks. I'm not good at crafts. Like, I'm not going to have the perfect sign that says today's for, like, but like, if we get down to it, like, I will be at every sporting event for my kids. Like, I will go on every fun adventure that you could possibly do. Like, I've learned a lot about myself, and I just want to be a good mom to my kids. And I realize that a lot of people are putting the two together. Like, well, you did this, so it means that you don't care about your family or you don't care about your kids. And that's the most hurtful thing people could say. Like, I would honestly do anything for them. And if I think at the end of the day, what's better for them is for me and their dad not to be together, we're not going to be together. Like, I want my kids happy.
I think that you're an unbelievable mom, and anyone that's saying that is projecting their own shit onto you. You just really have to look through it of a lens like that. There's something that's they're projecting onto you. You could simultaneously do two things at once. Yeah. And I think you're a great mom.
Thank you.
I've watched you on Instagram of the show, but you just can feel it. You're an unbelievable mom.
Thank you.
I think that I'm going to say 2025 is going to be your year.
You think?
Yeah. Why not? Abundant mindset.
You know what? I'm going to have an abundant mindset.
I think it's going to be your year.
We've been having a pretty rough one since 2020. So maybe 2025 is where it's going to come.
And you don't have melanoma anymore, right?
My last check a month and a half ago, I did not.
Does that mean when you say you don't have it, does it mean you're cured?
No. With skin cancer or melanoma, it means so every single time you go in and get your skin check, and it's like a full skin check. And if you're listening, you shouldn't only be getting skin checks. You should also be like going to your gynecological appointments. You need eye exams. You could have melanoma in the eye. Like, Jesus. You need to book all of your appointments, get your mammograms. If you're of a certain age, get a colonoscopy, like all of it. You have to be diligent about your health, and it can't be something that you put off because I'm not kidding. For at least 2 years, every 3 months that I went back for my checks, I had another melanoma. So,
see, Lauren, you gave me shit from going in there and I went in there, I got all naked, I did the whole thing.
Yeah,
you gotta look.
He had a speck, like an actual speck. It was a real speck. Like,
yeah, but
think
then you
of a
gotta
speck.
watch.
He had a speck on his face, like you couldn't see it.
Yeah, but you gotta watch, right?
And I'm happy having Teddy on. I'll be a little kinder.
Mm-hmm.
But you did have a speck that you talked about for
I got to get my face checked, and next thing I knew, I was like butt naked.
Probably about 15 times a day for 2 months.
But then why? This is where my issue with man and woman is.
Let it rip.
Okay, so you have the speck. Like, at least with my arm situation, people may have told me, but I was like, whatever. I didn't talk about it. I just was keeping it going. But if it was something that was bothering you over and over and over again, why didn't you just immediately book your appointment?
No, I did. That's what she
did. He did. But this is my problem with him. The appointment, he's fine. It looks nothing. And then he kept talking about the speck.
No,
yes.
but Teddy.
Yes.
No,
yes.
But Teddy, you told me you went in and one person said it was nothing for you too. I need to get expert opinion.
Then go get another opinion.
I did.
And
I
was
did.
it anything?
No.
Okay, so
he's still talking about it.
No, you're talking about it.
Here's the thing. Since you've had the full skin check, then and about your skin coloring is probably closer to mine. Like, we have like a reddish undertone.
Yeah.
So, which it really doesn't even matter what your skin tone is. But like, you're going to see more freckles and more things than probably on your skin.
Okay.
But go in every 6 months for a skin check.
Yeah, we're on the same side, right?
Okay, but
I don't think it's crazy.
You've gotten checked twice, and we're still talking about the speck.
Listen,
where is the speck?
It's right
show
here.
him the speck. Look at the speck.
Hold on, I can't see
Exactly. How do you think I feel? I'm pregnant. He's talking about a fucking speck on his face.
And then we just had a
invisible.
derm on the show. It's a broken blood vessel that's called a chemo something.
I know. I have one right here.
And they
inject a little something into it.
They burn it off or whatever if they want. But
he's still talking about
it kind of stings sometimes when I put some vitamin C on it.
I know. Mine does as well.
I'm going to name the baby Speck.
That's my brother's name.
Oh.
Your brother's name is Speck?
Speck Wildhorse.
That's cool.
Speck Wildhorse? Fuck, that's kind of a cool name.
Speck Wildhorse.
Yep.
Teddi has definitely, you've given us a lot of information. If you see something on your body, anything that's weird, go to the doctor and get your it's called pre-cancer. How do you go? Pre-screening?
You can go to a dermatologist to do this, but you need to go to a licensed dermatologist.
Okay.
It's not like the random chick you're going to get Botox from.
Yeah.
You go to a licensed dermatologist.
They do the thing with the light and the.
Yeah, and they need to check your whole body. If they're only checking the parts that they can see
like
while you're
your butthole.
Or and I got it. I let
they'll do at the gynecologist. But yes, they do need to check your butthole.
I let them go.
They
everywhere.
need to check in between your toes. They need to check your vagine.
Okay.
All of it.
Your
But
ball sack.
they're separate doctors. My licensed dermatologist didn't check my vagine, but she checked everything else. And then I went to the gynecologist and got all the other stuff checked.
The person with me was like, "Sir, put that away. We actually don't need to learn."
You're actually making me uncomfortable.
The speck has been the topic of conversation. Let's move on from that. Before you go, you have to tell us about your neck lift. People on this podcast, on this show who listen, they love beauty tips, tricks. You were so open about that. Tell me, do you really love it? Your neck looks, the neck is necking.
Nah, the neck is necking.
Yeah.
No, I love it's, I've made a lot of bad decisions. My neck lift was not one of them.
Okay.
So I always, no matter how my weight fluctuated, I always kind of had to do this in pictures. And it was because when I went in, Dr. Sharmila Sundar, she is incredible because she's also not going to have you do stuff that you don't need done.
Okay.
So I asked her, I'm like, should I get a freeze? Should I get thermage? Should I get threads? What's happening?
No threads.
No
okay,
threads.
Good. Okay.
No. So she said, she touched my neck. She looked, she's like, okay, so here's what your particular issue is. Your hyoid bone, which is the bone that's right here.
Okay.
Genetically speaking, I bet if you look around at your family, your hyoid bone goes like this. So it makes your neck naturally, no matter how taut your skin may be, it's always going to be out like this. So I'm like, so what does that mean? Will the Aura Lift work? And she's like, no. I mean, 20% better an Aura Lift work. If you actually want something that'll work, you have to do a neck lift because I'm going to have to go in there. I'm not going to use doctor terms, but essentially put a little basket over your thing and tighten up that hyoid bone. And then I'll just tighten up the skin. Because if not, you could do all of the, freezing the fat or whatever. She's like, it's not about the fat on your neck or it's not about loose skin. It's your how your body is. And so I was like, okay, well, let's go. And then I was like, yeah, I'll document on Instagram. And we got ourselves a deal.
Did it hurt?
No, it hurt more. I had that Morpheus laser done.
No. Oh, I heard that hurt so bad.
So what she said was, she's like, while you're under, I'm going to do the Morpheus laser because it's really painful. And then that way your recovery, it's all happening at once, which makes sense. But then when I woke up, I was like, but I was like, hold on, we didn't have surgery up here. Why is it hurting here? And she's like, that's the Morpheus. But the Morpheus really works incredibly well. But
it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Morpheus is amazing.
I've heard really good things. I just heard it hurts.
And there's also the CO2, the one that Tamara did. Did you see Tamara's documentation with the blue
roller.
face?
She's ice rolling. She's so cute. She's ice rolling. I'm like, you need an ice roller right now. When I saw that she got that done,
I had to send her a text. I'm like, you might want to wait for the post until you're off the pain meds.
Didn't she do the podcast in this situation? That's funny.
I was like, hey, Smurf, what's up?
You guys are funny.
Yeah, she's funny.
Also, I do have to shout out, you always go to Pellicure, I know. And Anna is a really good friend of mine, the owner. We both love Pellicure. Anna. If you guys are in LA, you have to go to me and Teddy's favorite Korean beachy shower. It's so good.
So good. And now they have a new scalp massage. Have you done that yet? Where
Michael has, I haven't.
I've done it twice.
It is so good. And then they give you a blowout afterwards, and it's like a good blowout. It's
I
not
thought you were going to say, and then they give you a blowjob. I'm like, no wonder Michael keeps going back.
No wonder Michael's always in a good mood when he gets back from pelvic
I did not get the blowout, but I did do the thing, and it's like, it's the best.
And then they show you like your scalp where there's like and I was like, what? I like wash my hair on a regular basis. Why is my scalp like that? No, pellicure is incredible and always relaxing.
Can you imagine my scalp? Because I only wash my hair 3 times a month.
Woo! Well, when I said I wash my hair a decent amount of time, I meant like once a week.
Okay.
It's better for your hair.
I mean, it's better for your hair. It's probably not better for my scalp and my tape and extensions. But
if you do a little massage, I think it's fine. Then you're stimulating the fascia.
Okay,
that's my theory. I don't know.
Perfect.
Teddi, I think you're great. You're warm, you're funny, and you're very open on this show. Thank you so much for coming on. Pimp yourself out. Where can everyone find you, your brand, your podcast, all the things?
My Instagram's at Teddi Mellencamp. My podcast is 2 T's in a Pod and Diamonds in the Rough. I would love for you guys to give us a listen. And my accountability program, which people's favorite thing to say right now is, how can you hold anyone accountable to anything? For your health and wellness is allinbyteddi.com. And if you mention the Skinny Confidential in your application, I will give you 15% off.
You know what? Accountability is not about being perfect.
Accountability is, you know what? Showing up and doing what you got to do to make your life better.
And if you're going to say that you have to be really perfect to call someone out for not being perfect.
Yeah.
You better have perfection going on in your lawn.
And you better actually like have a picture on your Instagram. If it's one dog and you've got no followers and like it's just all these empty boxes, like I don't want to hear it from you.
No, or if it's a woman picture and there's a God quote, a Bible quote in the bio. I mean, if I could make a parody of
peace, love, and light. You are a bitch. I see you in next Tuesday.
Abundant mindset. God is good.
P.S. Media people and journalists that bring kids into things. Karma's coming for you.
Ooh.
It's true.
Oh, Michael did a zinger.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Okay. Teddi Mellencamp, come back anytime. Let me know when you want to go over Housewives because I can bring my trapper keeper.
You're coming in.
Thank you, Teddi.